When it comes to Age of Empires 1, one unit that we all have a lot of nostalgia for is the Priest. It's pretty legendary for its special ability, which is waving its staff and yelling gibberish, which gives it the magical ability to change the color of soldiers' clothes and their allegiances out of thin air. It has earned internet fame from its legendary cry of Wololo, and it's just about guaranteed that if you can add Wololo into the title of your video or your meme in some way, you're gonna get more views. However, I wanted to examine to see what its actual uses are, to see if it really is a viable unit in a real competitive game. And so, let's take a look. So, to start off, you unlock the Priest in the Bronze Age by creating the Temple. Now, it does have 10 range, but it has no armor and only 25 HP when it's not upgraded. That's the same HP and armor as a villager. You get this relatively fragile package for a whopping cost of 125 gold. Its price tag is there for a reason though. It has two special abilities. The first ability is to heal units that have already been damaged, and its second ability is to convert enemy units from your opponent's side to your side, so to speak. However, when it's unupgraded, it is still very weak. It moves very slow, it converts units slow, it heals slow, and it even rejuvenates its faith very slow. And so, I think that in order to really use it and to make it worthwhile, you're going to need to upgrade it. To start off, there are 3 technologies you can research at the temple in the Bronze Age. The first tech is astrology, which allows conversion and healing to be 30% more effective. Now, it's hard to quantify what this really means because conversions are somewhat random, but just know that in that first campaign mission where you have a lone monk and you're trying to convert the axeman, the reason you lose just about every single time is because you don't have this technology upgraded. Mysticism doubles the priest's HP, which changes it from 25 all the way up to 50. However, keep in mind that even though this is a great improvement, it's still pretty small. And finally, polytheism allows priests to move 40% faster. This is very useful because it allows the priests to get to the battlefield earlier, and it allows them to retreat after a successful conversion way easier. However, even with these very important upgrades, it's still not the best unit to make in the Bronze Age. It just seems to be so expensive, and the units that counter it are so inexpensive. And so, let's look at the technologies in the Iron Age to see if it actually is any better. Afterlife gives the priests +3 conversion range. Now, the effectiveness in conversions is still kind of random, and this still requires you to notice enemy units, which may be the hardest part in all honesty, but it's still helpful because you have a little bit of extra time to convert the opponent. Monotheism allows priests to convert enemy priests and buildings. Now, this does help if both players are going for priests, and it is very effective at taking away an enemy's production building. However, keep in mind that you can't convert buildings like town centers, and in all honesty, it might just be quicker to destroy your opponent's building. However, the conversion time isn't that slow when you compare it to converting units, or when you compare it to converting buildings in Age of Empires 2, and so I still think that this is a good tech to get if you've gone mass priests. The next upgrade is fanaticism, which allows priests to restore their faith 50% faster, and incidentally, it's required in order to upgrade your longswordsmen into legions. This lets you get more conversions off, and it helps with the weakest aspect of the priest, which is that it can only convert one unit at a time. However, keep in mind that when you're converting enemy units, if you convert one unit with multiple priests, they'll all lose their faith, so you might want to be careful in how you micro your priests. The next temple upgrade, which is zealotry, doesn't actually affect priests. Instead, it allows villagers to move faster and to be stronger, which, by the way, increases their HP from 25 HP to 65 HP. However, these villagers do carry less resources. In my experience, this technology can be good if you've entered a trash war, or if maybe you want to really get some towers up and it's really important that you get them up. However, in most situations, I think that this technology is a bad idea. This technology is irreversible, but something good to know is that in post-Iron Age starts, this technology is not automatically researched. The next technology is medicine, which increases the priest's healing rate. As far as I can tell, it actually doubles this rate. However, I think that the real question is, does it take less Hoyoyos in order to heal a unit up to full health, or does it actually Hoyoyo faster? Before, it takes 20 Hoyoyos to heal a cataphract at 84 HP back to 200. After this technology, it only takes 10 Hoyoyos, and so we can tell that each Hoyoyo is actually worth more instead of Hoyoyoing faster. And finally, the last technology is sacrifice. Now, this technology is supposed to sacrifice each priest for an instant conversion. However, in all of my tests, I couldn't get it to work, and as such, obviously, don't research this technology because it's just a waste of 600 gold. I made sure to test this both in the scenario editor and in a real game, and as far as I can tell, it's just a bug or it never worked properly in the first place. Now that we've researched all of these technologies, we can kinda start to see how good a fully upgraded priest might be. And so, let's start by looking at the counters. Now, you might think that heavy cavalry and camels would not counter the priests because they're so expensive, and in small numbers they don't counter the priests. However, in large numbers, they can simply overrun the priest player's micro, and as such, I'd say they're pretty good counters once you get to the post-Iron Age. Swordsmen are also very good counters for priests, because they're so cheap and so easy to spam that even if you do convert one of them, it's not going to make that big of a difference. Chariots work well because they deal double damage to priests, and archer units also work well because they are ranged, and as such, they can take down the priests very quickly. And finally, while it can be very costly to lose a siege weapon to an enemy's conversion, the reality is that siege weapons have such high attack that they can devastate priests in just 1 or 2 shots. Now, I just listed a whole bunch of units that work as pretty good counters to priests, so you might be wondering, why would we ever make this unit? Why did we ever think it was so great? What are the priest's uses? Well, to start off, they work pretty well versus slow units, and so versus a small number of hoplites in the Bronze Age, priests will do very well, and they'll do very well versus elephants in the Iron Age. Also, in order for priests to be really effective versus a real human player, I think that you have to use it in combination with other units, oftentimes ranged units, and it also works very well if you use these units in a choke point, so that way they can't get surrounded. Now, I'm not an expert player, most people would probably say I'm not even that good, but even I can tell that priests are not the most viable unit in competitive games. You may wonder why, after all of those glorious memories you have. Well, I think that part of it is that in Age of Empires 2, monks are far more dangerous than priests in Age of Empires 1. AoE2 monks have even gotten expert players to break out in temper tantrums.
I'll never play Arena again. This is the dumbest map ever. Voululou, voululou. Oh, I converted one monk, I'll convert it back. I convert one monk, I'll convert it back. How can people enjoy Arena so much? I will never play it again. Never. Yeah, you heard me.
However, even though the priests aren't the best or most competitive unit to make in Age of Empires 1, they're still very fun. And if you play Age of Empires 1 Definitive Edition just for the nostalgia's sake or just to have some fun with friends, I would say make priests to your heart's content, because they're fun and they're so goofy that it really is rewarding in order to make these guys if you're not playing too seriously. Before I end, the best civilizations to make priests are the Chosen, which have full upgrades and rejuvenate 30% faster, the Babylonians, which are also fully upgraded, and they cost 30% less, and probably my personal favorite, which are the Egyptians, which are again fully upgraded and have +3 range. The worst civilization to make priests with is the Macedonians, because while their units do have 4 times conversion resistance, you don't even have access to the temple at all, so you can't make priests. All in all, while priests aren't the best unit, as I've said previously, they're still pretty fun, and a lot of us have nostalgia for these units for a good reason. Anyways, I hope that you found this video informative and hopefully enjoyable, and I hope that it has allowed you to see these units in a different light, and maybe you'll be able to use them more effectively in a real game. Anyways, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.